Today we are going to discuss expression for angular momentum of a rotating body. Then we'll do the expression for rotational kinetic energy of that rotating body there. We'll also see what is the relation between the torque and angular momentum. And then what is the law of conservation of angular momentum and its applications. And after that, we'll discuss analog between translational and rotational motion. So in translational and rotational motion, analog, if you know, in that case for many particular term, if you are confused that what should be the expression for that term in the rotational motion, you can get an analog of that in translational motion and easily find out what should be the correct expression in the rotational motion. And basically what is the analog there of the terms in translational motion and in rotational motion. So all these we'll discuss in today's discussion. Let's do expression for angular momentum of a rotating body. Suppose this is the axis of rotation, and we have a body which is rotating about this axis with the angular speed omega. And this body is suppose made of number of point particles, like m1 is the mass of one point particle which is at a distance r1, then m2 is the mass of the other one which is at a distance r2, m3 is the mass of third particle which is at a distance r3, and so on. So many particles are there. Suppose as they are rotating about this axis with the angular speed omega, the velocity of the first mass is suppose v1, this is v2, and this is suppose v3. Angular momentum, if you take angular momentum, this is basically moment of linear momentum. So that means we can take for this particular case moment, that means it is your r1 into momentum of the first one p1, r2 into p2 plus r3 p3, and so on. Here the angle, if you take this angle between r and v which we have taken, that is 90 there. So in that case it will be your sine 90, that is 1. So it is simply your r1 p1 there. So this will be equals to r1 m1 v1, r2 m2 v2, and so on. Angular momentum we represent it suppose as L. So this is now, it is your r1 into m1. Now v1 in rotational motion, if you consider, then relation between linear and rotational motion or speed, if you consider, it is your v equals to r omega. This is the linear speed, this is the angular speed. So as we have v equals to r omega, we can write for v1 it is as r1 omega. Second term will be your r2 m2, and then it is your r2 omega, and so on. So here we can write this as m1 r1 square, m2 r2 square, and so on into omega. Omega is the angular speed here. So now this is the term summation mr square into omega. That means this term is your I into omega. So L is given as your I omega. I is the moment of inertia and omega is the angular speed. So this is how you can get the expression for the angular momentum there of this particular body which is rotating about the given axis. Let's now take the expression for rotational kinetic energy of a rotating body. So we have this body which is rotating about the axis with an angular speed omega. So rotational kinetic energy, this will be the kinetic energy of particles of rotating body. That means this is equals to your half m1 v1 square, half m2 v2 square. These are the kinetic energy of the particles constituting this particular body. Now again here for v1 we can write r1 omega whole square, half m2 r2 omega whole square, and so on. So this we can write again as half m1 r1 square, m2 r2 square, and so on into omega square. Now what is this particular term? This we can write it as summation mrs square. So this is your half I omega square. So rotational kinetic energy will be given as half I omega square. I is the moment of inertia, omega is the angular speed. Let's now take the relation between the torque and angular momentum. Remember, torque has same role as in rotational motion as we have the force in translational motion. So the torque will be the external cause which will try to make a change in the state of the rotational motion of a body about a given axis. As we have the force as the external cause which tries to change the state of a body in translational motion. So here, if you consider the torque, then torque we take as rate of change of angular momentum. Just like as we have the force given as the rate of change of linear momentum. So this is your torque given as your dl by dt. This is the relation between the torque and angular momentum. Of course, if you consider that we want to find the expression for the torque there, and in the vector form we have L, that is the angular momentum, given as moment of linear momentum. So it is basically R cross P. This is the expression for the angular momentum, what we have used in the previous case where the angle between R and P was 90. So we have directly taken as RP sine 90 as 1 there. So we have taken R into P. But in general, it is the cross product of position vector and the linear momentum there. That means if suppose this is the axis of rotation and position vector of a particle is here, this is suppose R and the momentum is in this direction. So it will be basically R cross P there. That will give you L. So that you have to take what is the angle between R and P, and then you can find out. So this R will be R into P will give you L. So now if you consider for the torque, which we have taken as your dl dt, so it will be your differential of this term. If R is not changing, in that case what will happen here? It will be your R cross dp by dt. So that means the torque you can get R cross F. So this is the expression for the torque in vector form, and this if you take it is in the form of the or in terms of the angular momentum. Now we have done the law of conservation of linear momentum. What was the statement? If no external force acts on a system, then total linear momentum in any assigned direction remains same. In the same way, if suppose you take law of conservation of angular momentum. So if I take law of conservation of angular momentum. So how much it will what will be if no external force or torque, this will give if no external torque acts on a system then total angular momentum remains conserved. So how we can get this one? If we consider that torque is 0, because we have taken that if no external torque acts on the system. So it means dl by dt is 0. And this indicates that dl is equals to 0. dt if you multiply this side. And now if you integrating both sides, what you will get? Integral dl, this is 0 and that is L is equals to constant. Because it will be the constant of integration, so L will be equals to constant. Or if you are taking, suppose, initial angular momentum and final, in that case final angular momentum will be same as the initial angular momentum. So that way also you can get, like if I take integral dl as L initial, L final equals to 0. So it is your L final, L initial 0, or L final minus L initial 0, or L final same as L initial. So this is the law of conservation of angular momentum. Now, if you use this one, that initial and final is same, that means what I can write? I1 omega 1 equals to I2 omega 2. Or simply I omega is constant. This is the expression. So this is what we get from law of conservation of angular momentum. We have many numericals based on the law of conservation of angular momentum, or many conceptual type questions are also there based on law of conservation of angular momentum. So suppose if I take one numerical, if it is said that if Earth suddenly shrinks to half of its present radius, what will be the duration of the day? Suppose this is the question, that if Earth suddenly shrinks to half of the present radius, what will be the duration of the day? So for this, as no external torque is acting, so angular momentum will remain conserved. So as no external torque is acting, so I omega will be constant. That means I can take I1 omega 1 as I2 omega 2. So I1 and I2 are the moment of inertia of the Earth earlier and after. Omega 1 and omega 2 will be the angular speed. So taking Earth as a solid sphere, we can take its moment of inertia as 2 by 5 mr square. Angular speed will be 2 pi by 24 hours we are taking as the duration. So here it is your 2 by 5. New moment of inertia will be equals to m into r by 2 whole square, and this is your 2 pi by t. T is the new time period. So if you see here and simplify the term, you will get out 4 term here. It is 24, so it is 24 by 4, that is 6 hours. So 6 hours will be the duration of the day and night at that moment, when Earth suddenly shrinks to half of its present radius. We have many other examples there in day-to-day life also we can observe. Like one question as a conceptual type question which is often asked, that what will happen if polar ice caps melt. That means what will happen when polar ice caps will melt, and especially they want that what will be its effect on the duration of the day. So if you consider here again that this is suppose the Earth, this is the axis of rotation, this is the pole where we have the ice caps there. This is rotating about its axis. If the polar ice caps will melt, it will become water, and in that case they will move away from the axis of rotation. They will spread over larger surface area. So in that case they will spread away. And as they spread, that means they are now moving away from the axis of rotation. So as they are moving away from the axis of rotation, we have I omega as constant. As they are moving away, that means the distribution of the mass from the axis of rotation is increasing. It means this moment of inertia will increase. And if the moment of inertia increases, this omega will decrease. So in that case, this one will get decreased. Angular speed will decrease. That means if you take in terms of the time period, in that case, if this is decreasing, then that means the time period will increase. That is the duration of the day and night. If you are considering, it will increase. Another example you can take in case of the ballet dancers or the performers there. When the ballet dancer performers enter on the stage, they initially keep their hands straight. And once they are at the center of the stage there, they give a spin to their body. Now, if we are giving spin to our body, then our speed is maximum when we start, and just after giving 1 or maximum 2 turns, our speed will decrease and will stop. But for those performers, you'll find that once they have given the spin, after that their speed goes on increasing. They will spin with greater and greater speed, and they will be able to perform that spinning motion there for a longer period of time. So how they do that? You'll notice that once they enter on the stage, they keep their hands straight. So with their stretched hand, they enter on the stage. And once they reach near the center of the stage where they have to perform, they give a spin to their body. But at the same time, what they do, they start bringing their hand close to their body. They bring their hand stick to their body. In that case, what will happen? The distribution of the mass, especially for the hands and other, if you consider, which was earlier at larger separation or distance, now it is at a smaller separation because it has now come close to their body. Similarly, the legs also they are bringing close. In fact, you'll find that they may balance their entire weight on one leg, and that also on the toe of one leg. So that means they have brought their body so as to have minimum moment of inertia, because the distribution of the mass has decreased. It is now very close to the axis of rotation. So this moment of inertia will decrease. And as this I is decreasing, definitely omega will increase, because I omega is constant. So their speed will increase there, and they will be able to make more number of turns. Let's do an analog between translational and rotational motion. This will basically give you that the term which we take in translational motion, what is a similar term in rotational motion. Or you just understand this. In that case, for any particular formula, if you get any confusion, you will easily be able to get the correct formula using this analog. Let's see how we are getting that one. Suppose we take in the translational motion the term which is like the displacement, or it is the linear displacement. So we have the term displacement or the linear displacement. Similar term in rotational motion is the angular displacement. Linear displacement we represent by S normally, and angular displacement suppose we represent it by theta. Another term in the translational motion, here suppose we take the linear velocity. and corresponding term will be angular velocity. Linear velocity we represent by v, which basically is your ds by dt. Angular velocity we represent by omega. This is your d theta by dt. Just to see, here it was s and here it is theta, because the similar term of s is the theta here. Similarly, if you take a linear acceleration, a, which is your dv by dt, or it is your d2s dt square. Similar term here is angular acceleration, which is represented as alpha, and this is your d omega by dt or d2 theta by dt square. Similarly here, if you consider now equations of motion, what were the equations? We have v equals to u plus at. We have s equals to ut plus half at square, v square u square, v square equals to u square plus 2as. Corresponding equations if you take here, motion, in this case it will be your omega equals to omega naught plus alpha t, because the omega we take it as the angular speed at time t and this is the initial one, so we are writing it as your omega naught. So this is your, because many times you will find this velocity, that is the initial velocity, which we represent it as u, many times it is also written as your v naught. So this is your theta equals to omega naught t plus half alpha t square. Just the corresponding terms are there. Next is your, suppose omega square, this is your omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta. Now here we have the term mass in translational motion, which we represent it as m. Similar term here is moment of inertia, which we represent it as I. Here we have, suppose, the linear momentum, which we are taking it as p, which is your mv. So similar term here will be angular momentum, which is your L. And now you see, corresponding term for mass here is moment of inertia, so it will be I. For v, here it will be omega, so L is equals to I omega, which we have derived also. Another is your force, which we represent it as F, which is your dp by dt, or this is your m into a. Now similar term in rotational motion is torque, and torque we write it as tau, which is now dp by dt here for force, so it will be your dl by dt, and for ma this is your I into alpha, because for mass it is moment of inertia, for acceleration it is the angular acceleration there. Next is your kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is your half mv square here. This is the expression. Here it will be rotational kinetic energy, that will be your half I omega square. Another term which we can get, this is suppose your work done. So work done, what we take, this is your f ds integral for work. Now here if you consider work done due to the rotational motion there, or the torque which will be acting, that will be your tau d theta integral. For force it is torque, and for ds it is d theta. We have here law of conservation of linear momentum, and here what we'll have? Law of conservation of angular momentum. Like here it is your m1 v1 equals to m2 v2. Here it will be your I1 omega 1 equals to I2 omega 2. So that is how you can relate translational motion with rotational motion, and you can get the corresponding term. Anytime if you get confused, like expression for the rotational kinetic energy, is it half I omega square or something else? So for rotational kinetic energy expression, if you want to find its expression there, just take the corresponding term there in translational motion. In translational motion, we have half mv square. So for mass, corresponding term is moment of inertia in rotational motion. For velocity, it is the angular speed there, or angular velocity. So the rotational kinetic energy expression will be your half I omega square.